Well, this is Monday noon. Beautiful day out there. I think the temperatures here will be okay if you're not having to work out in the hot sun. Now, this is just going to be a little chit-chat day. I guess you'd say I'm in a talking mood, just like I was last night when Billie Jean and I were on, and we'll talk about that later. But before I get started, I want to tell you about one of the channels that I've been watching. This is one that comes from England, and anything I have seen on YouTube from England have been wonderful, wonderful channels. The scenery, everything they show you, it just seems like the brightest day of your life. Now, I've been watching one lady. Her name is Belinda, and her YouTube channel is called Belle, Belle, and Stitches. She cooks. She takes you for walks around the community, in the town, out in the fields. Oh, the scenery is just delightful. And when she gets in her kitchen, all I can say is I'm just plain jealous. She has the loveliest kitchen, and she usually is making a dessert when I'm watching. And I love her sweet, soft British accent. She just makes you feel so at ease and so comfortable. You just are stuck. Oh, and let me tell you, she knits. For you ladies who like to knit, you've got to watch what she's working on. Just beautiful work. And she needs a little help getting more subscribers. I think she's a little concerned that she's not getting enough subscribers. And I told her, I will help you. I will talk to my viewers. I will recommend your channel. And I'm serious when I say you really need to watch Belle and Stitches. She's such a delightful lady, so sweet. And I just turned from her 27th episode is what it said, and whatever she was making, she was pouring blueberries into it. Well, I know I'm going to go back and finish watching the episode today, but I think this is one she just put on recently. So please take a look at her channel. I know you will enjoy it. I was drawn to it the first time I saw the places she went. She goes from shop to shop. You want everything you see. That's all there is to it. And when she gets in her kitchen, I'm just overwhelmed. So, I don't think I'm too late to dream for a kitchen like hers. So, do her a favor and tell her who you are and why you are subscribing to her channel. You will like it. There's no doubt about it. So I'm going to go on now to a little chit-chat. let's see, it was Friday when I was in the Feather Your Nest antique shop. Jan was working, and when I left there, I was headed to Walmart. Need a new pair of jeans. That's where I get my jeans, is Walmart. I'm not one of their best customers. For one thing, I don't like the screaming, rowdy kids that the mothers don't pay any attention to. They just give them the free will to do whatever they please. Now, I've outgrown young children, you know. I don't have to deal with them anymore. And most of the time I don't. I don't like having to watch children running through stores with no discipline about them at all. So I only go to Walmart when I'm buying my jeans. The other thing is, when I got ready to check out, there was a self-check aisle, and another one, and another one, and another. There must have been 10 self-check aisles. I don't use self-check. I want them to add up my groceries for me and to bag them for me. And I was beginning to think they didn't have any checkout counters. And two young men were walking by, and I'm looking, and they know what I'm looking for, and they pointed to the end. There were 2 checkout aisles. And when I got there, there was only one person ahead of me. Everybody was doing self-check. But let's get back to my jeans. I've got, I think I've got 3 pairs of jeans. Usually the legs are too long. When they're too long, I just get scissors, cut them off, and fringe them a little bit, and they just look like I bought them that way. So I started looking. I'll bet I looked through 100 pairs of jeans. Now, the kind I buy are the stretchy ones. You know what I mean. They don't have zippers that you have to worry about. You can't get the zipper zipped, and you're afraid it's going to pop on you anytime. So I buy those stretchy jeans, and I guess I went through 100 pairs. Could not find my size. They had every size but mine. You know what that told me? There's a lot of women out there need to go on a diet, because they're buying the same size I'm buying, and there's none left to buy. They're overweight. Well, finally, I found 2 pair, one black and one the regular blue jean color. Got my size, and I've got them on now. I'm breaking them in a little bit. They're those that, you know, you can manage to get them up to the waistline, and they got those narrow legs that if you got on shoes, you can't get your foot through the leg of the shoes. Jan says those jeans make me look slimmer. Slimmer. Goodness gracious, I don't even know what that word means. But they feel pretty good on. I should have bought the other pair too, because they were black. That way, when I go back, if I can't find any in my size, I'll have 5 pairs of blue jeans that I can interchange. And I've gotten to where I like wearing the jeans. They're comfortable. But these don't have pockets. Why can't they put pockets in these jeans? Just because you're an old lady doesn't mean you don't need a pocket for your Kleenex and a little bit of change. So anyway, I got my jeans and I checked out and I headed, where was I going next? I was headed for Steak and Shake. Decided I wanted a milkshake and a sandwich. I always buy the Frisco Melt. It's got good beef, and it hits the spot about once a month. That's as often as I go, because I don't get near that shopping center too much. Now, Billie Jean and I did our little, whatever you want to call it, chit-chat last night. And as one of my viewers said, let Billie Jean talk. I talk too much. She's right. I did talk too much. And when I finished, or we finished, I told Billie Jean, next week, you are going to do all of the talking. I'm just going to sit back and listen. So you better prepare yourself and have some good subject to talk about. And I'm telling you, he's got collections of everything, so he has no problem talking. And he can tell you some really good stories, if he will. I've been watching his cooking show, and I'm going to tell you, it's my favorite show, not because it's him, but because the things he cooks, the methods he uses, he makes them look easy. They look like sensible food that people are going to want to eat every day. And, in fact, when he was working on his potato salad, oh gosh, he made his own mayonnaise. Can you believe that? He's good. He's really good. He does know cooking. He got me in the mood for potato salad, so I headed for the kitchen, and I did the same thing he did. I made too much potato salad, and I really need to share it with somebody, but I can't find anybody that I think will take it. Well, they probably would take it, but, when you don't know them that well, you hesitate about offering them a container of homemade potato salad. So I guess I'm going to be eating it twice a day, every day this week. I just have to find something good to go with it. One of my viewers was commenting on my story about the service stations in the small towns years ago. And she was agreeing with some of the things I said. So it had so much in common with her experience with small town, the little concrete block white service station, the black tires piled up in front of the station, and the one thing I left out and wouldn't have remembered it except that she described her service station back in the 50s almost identical to what I was telling. And then she said, and it was next to the railroad tracks, And it hit me. So was mine. The railroad tracks was right behind the little service station that my sister and I visited. And we got the biggest kick out of listening to this young man talk. He was probably the friendliest person I have ever met. He wasn't at all backwards in asking questions, and he seemed to enjoy the short conversation we had. It's just one of those things in life that everybody needs to experience. They need to meet someone like that who makes them feel good inside and makes them wish the rest of the world had the manner and attitude that he had. What a wonderful place it would be. Another one was telling me about, may have been the same viewer, about going downtown in the small town and going into every store. It didn't matter what kind of store it was. You went from store to store. And you also went to Newberry's or Woolworth's dime store. Now, we would go to Newberry's dime stores right there in the middle of Main Street. And what I remember is they had the fountain, big long fountain. Now, 4 of my sisters worked at Newberry's dime store or Woolworth's, made one or the other, when they were young, when they were getting out of high school. They worked at the fountain. Now, one of my sisters had long fingernails. Another one was like me. We bit our nails. Oh, we just bit our nails all so bad that it was a shame. But this one had long fingernails. And of course, you not only prepared soft drinks and milkshakes at the fountain, that's where people and workers downtown would go to eat their lunch. And my sister told me one time she was, I don't know what she was cutting and grating, probably making coleslaw, and she whacked off her fingernail. She said, I couldn't find that fingernail. I looked and I just said, oh, well, they won't know the difference. So she went ahead and made that coleslaw anyway. Well, that was way back in the 1940s. So, you did a lot of things a little different than you would now. So it reminded me, when she said they went from store to store, I thought about the day or the weekend that my sister and I, both of us living in Tennessee then, we lived near each other, and we would come to Corbin on the weekends. And on Saturday, we had to go downtown. Mama knew to forget about us. Don't worry about lunch. We're going downtown shopping. We always did. One weekend, well, first I need to tell you, she and I were both into decorating. We were always painting, wallpapering. I would do all the sewing machine work, like making dust ruffles and making ruffles for the bathroom sink, underneath, and pillows and whatever. Curtains, I made several pairs of curtains. Anything that would enhance the beauty of the room, I did the sewing. We did wallpapering. Well, I'll put it this way. I did the wallpapering while she worked crossword puzzles. She was better at crossword puzzles than she was hanging wallpaper. So that was my job. We were in Corbin. Saturday morning we got up, we're getting ready, and Daddy was home. And we headed for downtown. Mama knew, forget Pat and Ben and May. They're going to be in town all day long shopping. We didn't buy much, but we enjoyed the shop that we were used to our whole lives. At that time, I don't know which one of us was looking for new wallpaper. So we went to Sherwin-Williams wallpaper store, paint and wallpaper store. Pretty good sized shop. And you know how the wallpaper books are lined up on a little shelf top place, and you sat on a stool and you went from one wallpaper book to another trying to find the pattern you wanted. We did. We went from book to book. And when we got home that afternoon, we hadn't been anywhere else except to Sherwin-Williams wallpaper store. We came in, and Daddy says, "Where you girls been?" And we said, "We've been downtown shopping." "Where'd you go?" "Sherwin-Williams wallpaper store." Now this was 5:30 in the afternoon. The stores were closed by then. At that time, the store closed at 5 o'clock. He looked at us and he said, "You were in a wallpaper store 8 hours?" And we shook our heads and said, "Yeah, I guess we were." He shook his head and he says, "I don't believe this." He said, "Yeah, that's where we were all day long. In fact, they had to ask us to leave because it was time for the store to close." Well, we were a little bit embarrassed by that, but Daddy just sat there and grinned from ear to ear and shook his head and says, "I don't believe this. 8 hours in a wallpaper store." Now, folks, you see, when you find something you like to do, you stick with it. We didn't even find a pattern that day. That meant we'd be going back again, but we'd be going back home and checking out Sherwin-Williams there. I just had to tell that because that's the funny thing that women do. When they like it, and they don't, it doesn't matter how many hours they spend doing it. They're always going to find the exact thing that's in their minds that they're looking for. And they don't give up until they find it. So, I was trying to think. I know there was something else I was going to talk about. Let me look in my little notebook here. You know, this little notebook. I write a word or two in there and see what it says. Okay. Oh. I was on my iPad last night. And let's just say I was scrolling down on Facebook. And it stopped at a point where, you know, they show you Carol Burnett's show. You can see all kinds of different shows if you want to. And America's Got Talent, you stop and watch that a little bit. Well, it showed Johnny Carson's show. 1969, and there stood George Gobel. I said, uh-oh, I gotta watch this. I'd seen it several times before, but I had to watch it again. There was Bob Hope, Dean Martin, and George Gobel. And I'm sure the majority of you have seen that episode. It was 1969. Now I'm going to start first. I'm going to go back to me shopping. The store in Clinton, Tennessee. It was a discount store. And this was about 1987. This is when the new Fiesta wear was coming into being. And the store had seconds of Fiesta wear. They had two big, long tables stacked with plates and saucers and bowls of the new Fiesta wear. Well, I started looking, and I looked, and most of it was in the rose color, and I wasn't too satisfied with what I was seeing. In fact, I really didn't want to buy any of the new Fiesta wear because I was concentrating on nothing but the original. But while I was looking, two ladies came in, and they start looking too, and you listen to what they're saying, and next thing you know, you're having a conversation with them. Now, they lived in Oak Ridge, 11 miles away. And while we were looking at the Fiesta dishes, I asked one of the ladies, "Do you collect Fiesta ware?" And she said, "No, not really, but I've got a few pieces that were my mother's." Now, these ladies were older than I was. And I said, "Well, I'm going to ask you, do you ever think about selling any of it?" "Well, not really." And I said, "Well, if you decide you want to sell it, I might be interested in what you have. I know if it was your mother's, I wouldn't dare ask you to sell it. But if you do want to, let me know." And she says, "Well, I could. I don't mind." And she said, "If you want to come to my house, you can look at it." Well, I was ready to go right then. So we made a little appointment, and I went to her house in Oak Ridge, and she had the 15-inch chop plate. 15 inches is a big plate. You can't get that in your cabinet. You have to leave it out somewhere or hang it on the wall because it's big. I got that, and I think I got one of the mixing bowls, and I don't know what else. But while we were talking, she mentioned something about during the war, her husband, I don't know if her husband had been in military service or not, but she was telling me a story. They had a friend that would fly into Knoxville. They'd go pick him up, and he would spend the weekend with them. They never knew when, but he was in the Air Force. And he would stay the weekend with them and visit. And then one time, they said he was there, and he said, one of these days I'm going to be on television. You're going to see me on television. He was a comedian. Oh my, okay. And she said, oh, he left. It was a while later. They got a phone call. And he says, turn on your television at 8 o'clock tonight on NBC or wherever, and you're going to see me. They turned on their TV that night at 8 o'clock, and guess who they were watching? George Gobel. That was their friend. They were watching him on his first television show. Now, I'm watching Johnny Carson's show, and I've got it on my YouTube channel, and I said, uh-oh, this is the one that I always remembered. Oh, it was such a funny show. Dean Martin, you put Dean Martin and Bob Hope and George Gobel together and Johnny Carson, you're going to watch it. They were so funny that night. So, George Gobel's sitting there, and he got this big patch on his shirt or his jacket, and it had something to do with the military. And Johnny's asking him, what's that all about? Well, that's back when I was in the Air Force. He told what he did. He was a pilot. He said, I was a pilot in the Air Force. And they're laughing. Oh, they think it's funny because George Gobel's just a little short fella, and you didn't think of him in charge of anything in military. And when they were teasing him and making fun of him as a pilot in the Air Force, he looked at them and he said, well, I'll tell you one thing. He was in Oklahoma. That's where he was stationed. He said, not a single Japanese plane got past Tulsa, Oklahoma. And they just roared. It was one of those moments that was so funny when he said, not a single Japanese plane got past Tulsa. And I sat and watched it again and again. Now, I'm suggesting that you find that it says The Tonight Show 1969, and you put in George Gobel, Dean Martin, Bob Hope. It will bring that up on YouTube, and you watch them. He is in the second half of the show. So if you don't want to watch the beginning, just move it over till you see him come out from behind the curtain, and you start watching it, and he is so funny. So, I don't know why I told that, but you know, when something pops in your mind that you want to tell it right then. Oh, and by the way, I've got my Dr. Pepper. I decided I'd switch from my little thermos. This thing holds a quart of Dr. Pepper. Oh, I've got my finger over the name. See that? Can you see that? It's backward where I'm looking at it, I hope you're seeing it this way. So, this is the cup. I don't know if you call that a cup. It's almost like a jug. It's heavy. Whew, that's good stuff. My friend Marlene sent me this from Arizona. Was it Arizona? Yeah, she lived in Arizona. She moved into her new home, and she's been decorating. Oh my gosh. She decorates for every season. Well, I think she just decorates for every month, to tell you the truth. Whatever is the going thing, she's decorating her whole house. Just blows my mind, and there again, making me a little bit jealous because I don't have a nice big house to decorate. And she does a beautiful job. And Marlene, if you're watching, I'm using your cup. This is going to last me all day long, and it'll stay nice and cold. Now I'm going to go in, and I'm going to have potato salad. But I think I'm going to thaw a little bit of ground beef and make myself a hamburger. I haven't had one in a while. And I like hamburgers with potato salad. Might even put some of those onion petals in the oven because they're pretty good. It doesn't matter what you put together. If you like it, you like it. So anyway, see, I had something else I was going to tell, but I forgot. See, I forget real quick. But as I said, this is just a little chit-chat day. Jan's still in South Carolina. And, you know, I wonder about things like this. They went down. They had a special reason for going. Charlie's son lived there, and he has two brothers. They went to church with them yesterday morning. They left church. I don't know where Jan and Charlie were headed. Probably they were on their way to get lunch. And they got the phone call. Charlie's younger brother passed out in the church aisle, and they had to rush him to the hospital. They thought he'd had a heart attack. So when they rushed him to the hospital, that meant the sirens were going and the lights were flashing. They had to get him there quick. And I got to thinking, Jan and Charlie went down there to stay several days. They had big plans. They were going to do fishing. Charlie was going alligator hunting. Now, don't ask me about that because I don't know anything about alligator hunting. But anyway, it was going to be a pleasure trip. And I thought, we don't know yet what his brother's condition is or will be. He may have to have surgery. And when it's dealing with the heart, none of us can ever predict what the condition is, whether it's good, stable, bad, what. You just wait. You wait. And you pray. And I thought, isn't it a little strange that this happened after Charlie got there? What does that mean? Is it good that Charlie was there? when this happened, instead of being hundreds of miles away at home. So they're waiting. I don't know when the surgery will be, but I'm sure they're spending most of their time now, their vacation time, they're spending near and at the hospital. So I want you to keep that in mind. I know Charlie is a very devout Christian, and I know he will appreciate your prayers. So I'll stop with that. It's already, goodness gracious, it's 2:30. Well, that's where the 2 meals a day come in instead of 3. If you eat a late breakfast and then you get into the middle of the afternoon, you eat again, you don't need a 3rd meal. That's how I diet. I cut out 1 meal. I cut out the middle meal, let's put it that way. I go from breakfast to supper. And if I can keep myself away from the ice cream, the caramel sauce, the cake that I made, no, I can't do that. Never could do that. Gotta have a little bit of that. So, don't forget, check out Bell and Stitches. And I want you to tell Belinda how you happen to subscribe to her channel. I want to know how you like her channel. There are some others very good from England. I think it's just that it's such a beautiful place, and they have such a beautiful accent, and it seems like the weather's always so pretty. Flowers, their flowers never have a little bug or an insect eating on the petals. And in Hyde Park, their roses are this big. I saw their Queen Anne lace, a lot of it. I was on a coach, and I looked out the window, and along the roadside was Queen Anne lace. And I'm not exaggerating. Those blossoms were as big as a dinner plate. I couldn't believe my eyes. They have beautiful flowers, and they take care of them. You're driving along in the coach, and you can see these pretty little cottages, fences around them, and you'll always see a lady working in those flowers. Always. And when you see the window boxes from the houses that have the upstairs windows, those windows boxes are filled with various flowers and the vines hanging down. It's just about the nearest thing to heaven I can think of. Looking at those hillsides and those stone fences that went for, instead of saying yards, it looked like they went for miles. They connected here and there on those hillsides, and the black-faced sheep grazing. I've just never seen anything any prettier than the hills and the valleys of England and Scotland and Wales. Those were the 3 places I visited. Now, I'm sure they're just as pretty in other places, but those are the places I have seen. And they're the only ones I can talk about. And I'd sure love to see them again. So go on Bell and Stitches, and Belinda will take you through the streets, those little cobblestone streets, and she takes you in and out of those little vintage shops, and you just feel like you're right there with her. And then she goes back home, and she's in her kitchen, and that's when I get jealous. Oh, what a beautiful sight. So Belinda, if you're watching, you do a beautiful job with your YouTube channel. Beautiful. And I'm sure you're going to have new subscriptions. Look forward to it. And I look forward to it too. So this is my day. I have to get my ground beef out and let it thaw a little while. Or I just might get some chicken out that's already been cooked. And all I have to do is thaw it, put it in the microwave. And I've got my mid-afternoon lunch and dinner. Folks, thank you for watching me. And I hope I've said something that can help you through your day. It's time for me to go.